Hello everyone, welcome to my human design channel. My name is Juji and this is HD by Z. In case you're new, this is a space where we analyze celebrity human design charts, mostly by looking at their relationships. But today we're going to be doing a deep dive on Taylor Swift because she was just named Time's most influential person of the year. And we'll get into why that is potentially. And also we'll be talking a little bit about Travis Kelce, but I'll be sharing with you some reasons why it's really hard to analyze his chart. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you all that all of my information will be in the show notes below. You'll see on my site that I do readings and coaching and speaking and all of that. So if you want to get in touch, click the link below. Now let's get into Taylor. Before we get started though, I want to issue a trigger warning for all of you Swifties out there who believe that she can do no wrong. I want to start by saying that I love Taylor Swift. I love her music, her lyrics are fabulous, and I really appreciate the way that she has been able to defend herself throughout the years when this giant industry that could have chewed her up and spat her out was just coming for her. So there's a lot of things I do really respect about her, and there's a few things that I find slightly problematic, and we will be getting into all of that. So why don't we start by looking at her chart? All right, so this is Taylor Swift's chart, and you guys have seen this before when I did the analysis of her and Joe Alwyn's relationship. You can go back and watch that video. I want to talk about the fact that, you know, she has become the biggest superstar in the world. Her Eras tour has really just like outpaced every other world tour any artist has ever had. And why might that be? Well, here's a couple of things. First of all, Taylor Swift is a projector, and projectors are here to be noticed. You know, a lot of people talk about Taylor Swift's eyes and how powerful and magnetic they are. The projector gaze is no joke, since the projector aura is here to be focused and absorbing. And so many people say that when they're at a Taylor Swift concert, it doesn't matter that she's playing to 70,000 people. It feels like she's just playing to you. And that's a special skill that only projectors really have because they are best one-on-one with people. She's also a 4426 projector, which is the design of a transmitter. And what is singing and expressing yourself and writing these incredible lyrics, if not that? So this transmitter is really about this tribal camaraderie. It's about being able to express in a way that people can relate to. Like, how is the biggest superstar in the entire world so relatable? That's what everybody keeps saying. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Well, if you take a look at her human design, it absolutely makes sense. Finally, I want to address the fact that she is a 5-1 profile, and the fifth line is projected on constantly as the hero and the savior, right? A lot of the time when I'm doing a reading for a fifth line, I say to them, you know, everybody else is going to try to tell you who you are, but you're not here to believe that hype. And I would say the same thing to Taylor Swift. Now, listen, it's very different being a superstar where, you know, there is a tendency for all of us to tell all of the people who are famous in the world who they are. But she especially is not here to buy that hype, especially as somebody who has an open G center. One of the things that people talk about Taylor is that when she dates somebody new, she takes on whatever role she needs to in order to fit in with that person's crowd, with their family, whatever. Right now, it's Travis Kelce. He's a football player. Now she's this like, you know, wag in the stands wearing all red because the Chiefs colors are red and like screaming and shouting. And even somebody was like talking about how she had left behind this cheat sheet to understand the game and like what's going on, and like that is so fake because she doesn't really care. Well, she doesn't actually know what she likes, right? Anybody with an open G, it's not that they don't have direction in their life, or it's not that they don't have an identity, it's that it's an inconsistent identity. And so she's trying it on, right? Like we can talk shit about how she is morphing into this quote unquote perfect girlfriend for him. But, you know, she's seeing if being a football girlfriend or even a football wife, let's say, is something that she wants to be long term. And finally, I just want to talk about her left angle cross of confrontation, because it feels like that's what all of her songs are. They're these confrontational, like not super subtle songs about her exes. And this is where I feel like some of the problems set in with Taylor, because you know, like I said, she doesn't have her own identity. And as a fifth line, she's constantly being projected on. And I feel like somewhere early on in her career, she wrote a song about an ex and everybody loved it because she was saying all the stuff, all of the petty, kind of gripey stuff that we all wish we could say to our exes or about our exes, or have said with our girlfriends at boozy brunch about our exes. But she was putting it out there on the world stage and people ate it up with a spoon. Again, design of a transmitter, right? So she really leaned into that, and now it's her entire personality. Her entire personality is being this confrontational, like lyricist who just talks about other people, whether it's griping about an ex or a female, you know, friend who did her wrong, whatever that might be. She has given herself carte blanche to talk about it on the public stage. And it becomes increasingly more and more public as the bigger and bigger star that she becomes. So nothing stays private when it comes to Taylor. And listen, she has this gate of friction, this cross of confrontation. She has ego definition. This gate 45 is all about, you know, this is my territory and you're encroaching on it. You know, she is a very powerful force. And I do understand that it's a brand and that we don't have to take it super personally. But I also want to point out that this whole generation of women who are looking to her as this role model, who are looking to Taylor Swift as like how to behave, are seeing that it's easy to blame the other always, right? You don't take any responsibility for yourself. Okay, she wrote the song Anti-Hero, which is a faux anthem about being self-aware, but it still has this like cheeky wink wink, like, yeah, I know I'm the problem, but not really. I know I'm the problem, but not really. So her and Travis Kelce, I've wanted to do a video about them forever, but it's really difficult because there's no birth time for him. Now, people ask me all the time when they come to me for readings, like, hey, I want to take a look at a chart of somebody I know or my relative or something, but they don't have accurate birth time. What do I do? And I ask them to at least try and get a window of time, because it's really difficult when you have a whole 24-hour period that somebody could have been born in. So this is potentially Travis Kelce's chart. He was born October 5th, 1989. So he might also be a splenic projector, just like Taylor, with this design of a transmitter, just like Taylor. And that is likely. However, if you go back to earlier in the day, which I'm showing you right now, he is a generator, right? And he is a generator with G definition, which would make him very attractive to Taylor for two reasons. One, because he has this sacral juice that she does not have. And two, because he has this defined G center, which would give Taylor the direction that she was looking for, right? This is a possibility. Now we go to 2 a.m. And at 2 a.m., Travis Kelce is a reflector, which is 1% of the population and pretty unlikely, even though the birth time reliability score is really high here. So again, I don't feel comfortable doing an analysis with them or for him because there's just a lot that we don't know. His profile changes throughout the day. It's just not reliable enough. And this is why I always say the PSA about birth time, because there's so much that can change over the course of a day. And every time I do an analysis for a celebrity couple, I tell you guys if there is accurate birth time for these people or not. Because if there isn't, then I check the entire 24-hour period to see what changes, and I don't address anything that doesn't change. It's very unusual for a chart to change this much throughout the course of a day, that it could be 3 different aura types. So that's why, unfortunately, we can't really analyze Taylor and Travis together. So, okay, let's talk about Taylor and this incredible honor that she just received, being Person of the Year through Time magazine. Let's start by analyzing the cover of the magazine. I find it incredibly strange that she was photographed with her cat kind of draped around her neck. And the reason why I find that odd is because, yes, we all know Taylor loves her cat, but she is a 33-year-old woman now. She started out as this young ingenue, and of course, this like cat culture, you know. Before I did this in a past life, I worked at Delia's, and Delia's is like a tween brand that everybody who was born in the 80s knows about. It used to be a catalog, and then it became a retail chain. And when I was working there, you know, there was all this stuff with cats on it, including these like little slippers that were really popular because Taylor Swift was creating this whole culture around the fact that she loved her cat. And this brings me to a question that I asked one of my friends recently, who also does a lot of celebrity analysis, Onami, whether or not she believes that when a celebrity becomes famous, that fame, that initial shock of fame, is a trauma and arrests the person at the age that they were when they became famous. Now, I'm not saying that if you were arrested at that age, that makes you completely dysfunctional. We're not talking about like severe mental illness here. We're talking about just being at a certain maturity level that you can't really move past without doing some deep inner work on yourself. And that's one of the things I look at when I look at all the celebrities that I do analysis for. You know, if most celebrities become famous in their teens or early 20s, then basically all of Hollywood, all of the music industry is a high school, right? And you can kind of tell that people are behaving accordingly. So Taylor Swift is still that young girl who's obsessed with her cat, and it's like part of her personality. Again, open G, latching on to something that really can become a part of her like ethos or the part of her brand that everybody recognizes. So that's just something that I was really looking at. And then there's a lot of stuff in the article that I read from beginning to end, even though it was really long and quite boring, about how bitter she is. Now, bitterness is not bad or good. It's just a way of being able to measure as a projector whether or not you're like in the right place at the right time or with the right people doing the right thing. And as a projector, Taylor talks about how, this tour is really very challenging for her physically. She does have two motors in her chart, but she's still a projector. She doesn't have any sacral definition. And so basically, when she's not on stage, she's in bed. In between shows, she stays in bed all day long. The only thing she does is get up and eat and take her food back to bed with her. She talks about that. So, I'm just hoping that she's really like giving herself enough time to decompress, get out of sacral energy when she can. And then the other thing is, how does a projector, even if she stays in bed all day between tour dates, how does a projector do what she does? Because this set list is really long. It's very challenging. She talks about, the physical aspect of all of the costume changes and the dancing and all of that stuff. And I would say that, recognition is fuel for a projector. That's really what Taylor Swift is running on. She's running on the recognition of 70,000 fans screaming her name and, the recognition of all of the numbers that are associated with this tour. It's made like billions of dollars, and like every time she goes to a new city, it creates this like influx of capital for that city. So different cities around the world have been begging her to come and do a tour there because they really need the tourism. So, the numbers don't lie, the fans don't lie. I think the highest rate of like proposals happened at this Eras tour thing. So of course she's this hopeless romantic that's constantly like talking about love, and that makes her feel really good. So she's running on this incredible like influx of recognition that she's experiencing with all of this, including being voted Person of the Year by Time, which, there's so many people over the globe that could have been that person, but she's really the one this year. Now, the rest of the article is interesting because she takes some time to drop some of the names of her enemies. Right? She talks about Kim Kardashian and the whole thing that happened with Kanye West and Scooter Braun stealing her music and all of this stuff. And listen, I'm not saying that she doesn't have the right to still be bitter about those things, but you're winning an award and so many other people could have won, but you are the one that's front and center, again, being a role model to other people. And instead of being able to celebrate yourself, you're still pointing the finger outwards towards other people. You're still like years later, this didn't just happen. This is like years and years and years later, these things that, when somebody has done like deep introspection and work on themselves, and not to say that she should, but she would really be able to let those things go much easier if she had, because that's not really what she's here to be remembered for, right? We don't want to remember her for all of the things that went wrong. We want to see her as somebody who has risen out of those ashes, creating this incredible career for herself. Again, much respect to Taylor Swift and everything that she's accomplished from the time that she was very young. And, it wasn't handed to her. I know she had to work very hard for it, and she is very talented. So I'm wondering why she didn't spend more time celebrating that and spent so much energy talking about all of the people who have done her wrong. It just seems to me that she's really trying to control the narrative around herself, which as an open solar plexus person and as a 5/1, I completely understand. There's nothing more apt than an album called Reputation by a 5/1, because that's really what the fifth line is all about. Recognizing that sometimes they're going to get burned at the stake, and sometimes they will be celebrated as the hero and the savior. And to be able to control that narrative is really important to them. But again, I feel like there could have been like such a level of positivity that she brought to this incredible honor instead of going backwards and reminding all of us like who did her wrong in the past. Anyway, that is my deep dive on Taylor Swift. If you guys have any comments or questions about any of this stuff, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to answer any questions for you. And if you guys want to nominate another person to do a deep dive on, or a couple that you'd like to see a video about, I'd also love to hear that. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, ciao for now.